Everyone, it's Cass. Welcome back to my channel, What Cass Read. Today I'm going to continue my favorite author series. I already filmed and posted my video of my favorite female SFF authors. So today I'm bringing you my video of my favorite male SFF authors. A lot of them are going to be some tried and true staples on this channel. As a matter of fact, all of them are. No one is going to be surprised about any of the authors on this list. They're all ranked from 10 all the way to my #1 male SFF author. So let's just get to it and let's find out my ranking of my favorite male SFF authors. So the first author that I have to give a shout out to is John Gwynn. He is the author of the Faithful and the Fallen series. It's a 4-book fantasy series. This first book being Malice. I have read the first 3 so far, and the only book that I have left to finish off this whole quartet is going to be Wrath. That's his final book. And as each book in this series has gone on, the more I have enjoyed this world, the more that I have enjoyed John Gwynn's writing. When I first read this book, it's not incredibly intimidating despite its size. I feel like the chapters go by really quickly. But the first time that I read this book, I felt like, well, this is kind of like a stereotypical fantasy series, like really epic battles. We have magic, we have the chosen one trope, we have the girl who loves to fight trope, we have this magical mentor and all that stuff. But this is also a book that takes place in a world of giants. We don't typically get giant characters in any fantasy novel. I really enjoyed that take on it. Normally they're some type of tool of evil, but we never get inside a giant's head. So I've really enjoyed that as I've continued on with the series. So as the book has gone on, yes, it's full of great tropes, but it's also done pretty fresh, pretty new. And John Gwynn has also been continuing on with a new series. The first book of that being A Time of Blood and I think A Time of Dread are the first 2 books in that series, which is a spin-off, takes place after the end of the Faithful and the Fallen series. So John Gwynn just seems like he's going to be an author that I'm going to stick around with for a long time. I really enjoy just sinking back into the world as soon as I pick up one of his books. Coming in at number 9 is Michael J Sullivan. I have a whole video on how to read Michael J Sullivan. He is one of my fantasy mainstays in my life. And this is Theft of Swords, book number 1 of the Raya Revelations. There's 3 books that are bind-ups in this trilogy. I've talked about that before. There's the Legends of the First Empire series, there's the Raya Chronicles, so there's lots of good fantasy to sink your teeth into when it comes to Michael J Sullivan. He's one of my favorites because I really enjoy the the bro duo. I really like 2 guys on the road. There's definitely the on the road kind of trope here. One who's broody, one who has past things in his life that he doesn't want to talk about, another one who's trying to prove himself. There's a little bit of romance, lots of magic. I mean, again, if you're a fan of this channel, you know to expect these kinds of stories. So Michael J Sullivan is coming in at number 9. Number 8, a recent favorite of mine. This is Brent Weeks, and he is the author of the Lightbringer series. So the Lightbringer series is 5 books in total. Is it 5 or 6? The last one just came out. I've only read this book, and I just put The Blinding Knife, which is book number 2 on my 5-star TBR prediction. Brent Weeks has written a really smart fantasy series. I think the reason why he's ranking higher than John Gwynn at this point, even though I've read more John Gwynn than Brent Weeks, is that while I was reading this book, the first part of it I was like, I have yet to see what makes this any different from other fantasy series that I've read, until he drops this big bomb on you. And a number of twists and turns that he incorporated into this novel, the magic system in this novel, that's what edged Brent Weeks out from the other 2 authors that I just mentioned, which are super enjoyable. But I think for him to get to that point faster was just crazy. And now I am hooked into this series super hardcore. I haven't read enough of him to put him higher on this list, so that's why he comes in at number 8. But again, a super solid fantasy mainstay on my bookshelves. I decided to pull this book out. This is Prince of Thorns, written by Mark Lawrence. Mark Lawrence is coming in at the number 7 spot. And you've seen me talk about Mark Lawrence in greater detail when it comes to the Book of the Ancestor trilogy. I've read all 3 of those books. I've only read this book, which is his first novel of the Broken Empire trilogy. I haven't continued on with that trilogy yet. I just haven't gotten around to it. But the difference between this novel and what I found in the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, he's grown so much as an author. I think there's going to be a trilogy of his that is for you if you are a reader of fantasy. He writes grim dark, This one I feel like had more grimdark of like the shock factor than when we get into Book of the Ancestor trilogy. The grimdark is like a slow burn grimdark. Is that even a thing? But I just feel like there's a good range of stuff in his entire repertoire for people to get attached to. So I love, love, love Mark Lawrence, and that's why he is in at number 7. Coming in at number 6, George R.R. Martin. I didn't feel good about ranking him higher than number 6, even though he is, I mean, this top 10 is like, they're all solid, right? But I didn't feel good about ranking him higher because, like, as time has worn on, I'm like, yo, where's the last couple books already? All right, now we're getting into the top 5. So coming in at number 5 is JRR Tolkien. Now, I have an extreme soft spot for JRR Tolkien in my life as a fantasy reader. And I've said this before. So many people have asked me, like, what have been the fantasy novels that got you into the genre? Well, for me, it was Lord of the Rings. It was The Hobbit, actually, first before I started on The Fellowship of the Ring, which is the book that I'm holding up right here. When I was younger, there was no such thing as a young adult section. You were either reading like children's stories or you were reading adult books. So this was honestly the first fantasy epic that I had gotten a part of, and I don't mind the repetition of the plot. I don't mind the songs and the riddles. I don't mind all the little characters and all their little quirks. This is the solid backbone to the genre that I have such an allegiance to. J.R.R. Tolkien just kind of laid the carpet down for so many people to improve upon and grow the genre. So solid number 5. Now, an author that I feel like has totally grown with the genre is going to be Scott Lynch, the author of the Gentleman Bastard sequence. This first book is called The Lies of Locke Lamora. The Lies of Locke Lamora, the entire Gentleman Bastard sequence, this is a smart series. I think what I love so much about this is that Locke Lamora is a bad guy. I mean, he's not a bad guy because we know him and we love him, but he is a thief and he runs a gang of thieves and they're doing unsavory things. I mean, they're stealing valuable things and leading a life that is less than desirable, but he makes it look so good. He makes it look so fun. And he makes you root for the guy that's actually the guy who's not the most morally straight-arrowed person. This is an author that I feel like I talk about him a lot, but I love this series so much. And this is one of the series that I actually completed. And when I completed, I completely missed it. I knew I was going to miss it. I knew I was going to miss having a chance to learn more about this world once the book series was done. So this is Sebastian D Castel. He's coming in at my author number 3. He is the author of the Greatcoat series. And I do also have the Spellslinger series, which is his young adult series. Traitor's Blade was such a fun series for me to get to. It was one of those things that I didn't mean to just keep going with it, but as soon as I was done with one book, then I picked up the next one, then I picked up the next one, then I picked up the next one, until I was finished with it, and I just loved it. I had such a good time. The interesting thing about Sebastian D Castel, I don't think any of the other books that I have mentioned, all of those are going to be like multiple person POV. This is told first person POV, one character, the entire series, which is something that I feel like is vastly different from what we're encountering in a lot of fantasy. You come to understand the character, and even the things that I found to be somewhat annoying about the character, other characters would end up calling out the main character, and it was awesome. I really recommend this one, and I'm not going to stop singing its praises. Okay, controversial pick at number 2, but number 2 favorite male SFF author is going to be Patrick Rothfuss, the author of the King Killer Chronicles, and this is book number 1, The Name of the Wind. The Name of the Wind is one of my favorite fantasy books. Like, if we're talking about just one book, the whole series isn't out yet, so I can't judge it based off of that. But Patrick Rothfuss, I am drinking the Kool-Aid. I know that it's a controversial pick because this is one of those books that either you love it or you hate it. And so many people that are on BookTube might be steadfastly in the like, we hate Patrick Rothfuss club. I don't know, he's kind of an asshole and I'm kind of okay with that. You know, Kavoth is kind of an asshole and I'm kind of okay with that. The layering of things that he has done inside the King Killer Chronicles has so many people guessing about how this thing could possibly be concluded. Like, I just don't know all the threads that he's left incomplete. Like, how is he going to wrap all of this up in one book. Yes, I'm a part of the people that's waiting for the final book to come out. No, I'm not gonna like get up in arms about it because like I've got a ton of other stuff that I can read, but I just feel like my enjoyment level of this series, the scope of the series, I'm just, like I said, I'm totally drinking the Kool-Aid. So that's why Patrick Rothfuss is at number 2. And my number 1, this guy, Brandon Sanderson, my number 1 male SFF author. There's just too many good things to say about Brandon Sanderson. The amount of books I've read from Brandon Sanderson thus far has now, I've gotten, I feel like, a really good sampling of what he can bring to the table, not only in fantasy, but also in science fiction a little bit with the Skyward series. I've enjoyed pretty much all of them. There's only one book that I had a problem with that I got a lot of flack for giving that a number 2, like a 2 out of 5 star ranking. The more that I read from him, the more that I get from him, the more I thoroughly enjoy what he's putting out. And this book that I'm holding up, it was just the first Brandon Sanderson book that I grabbed off my shelf. No reason in particular other than that, but this is Elantris. This is actually his first published novel. So I wish I could say that it was like intentional that I grabbed his first published novel, but it wasn't, so we can pretend that it was. Alright, so there you have it, my top 10 male SFF authors, ranked from 10 to 1. So many of them you've seen me talk about before. None of those authors should be a surprise to you. I think what will surprise you then will be the authors that I include in my favorite fantasy series. So anyways, let me know what you think about my order of these authors. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can also find me on my social media if you want to talk with me there. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It's at whatcassread, the same as this channel. So it should be super easy for you to find. And then of course, if you are new here, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, you know how these videos end. I'll talk to you later. Bye.